The Insta360 Go 3 is finally out, and as usual we have had the pleasure of testing it for the last few weeks. A solid upgrade to the Go 2, we're going to be jumping through our regular hoops testing features like Stabilization, Horizon Leveling or Lock, and TimeShift amongst others, as well as obviously checking out the video quality, resolutions, taking some photos, reviewing usability and gimmicks, along with comparing special functions. Joining us for this video will be the GoPro Hero 11, so fasten your seatbelts, lean back, and get ready to enjoy one of our very detailed action cam comparisons. Let the facts speak. So we're going to be first checking out the video quality of these devices, as this quality is very important for action cam videography. The Insta360 Go 3 can shoot at 2.7K in 30 frames, while the GoPro Hero 10 can go all the way up to 5.3K. On paper, 5.3K definitely seems better, but we actually don't know how the footage looks right now as we're just shooting it, so leave a comment on your thoughts and we'll also get back to you as soon as we get back to the studio and check out the footage for ourselves. As you can tell, we got back to the studio and saw a significant difference when comparing the two. You should keep in mind though that we watch our videos on 4K monitors, so if you're someone who shoots content for social media and mostly plays around with them on a phone or a small laptop, the difference won't be as big. Regardless, the GoPro Hero 11 does have an edge when it comes to dynamic range, as when passing through darker areas, the Go 3 does have slightly crushed shadows. Under direct sunlight, there is little difference, besides the resolution of course, so your choice will most likely depend on the environment that you will use these cameras in. Bright and sunny is no problem at all, but dark and cloudy does show that the Hero 11 has the advantage and is also a little more consistent with providing the same standard when it comes to footage that will not just be a few seconds, but rather a few minutes long. Colors look fine on both of them, as we saw no irregularities with white balance and skin tone so far. So now we're going to take a look at one of my favorite modes on these action cams, and it's called TimeWarp on the GoPro and TimeShift on the Insta360. Now what this does is, while you're walking, it takes a ton of photos and then combines them together to make a video. We're going to be taking some footage of the victory column right behind me, and then we'll check out for ourselves how it looks. And does it look nice? With the automatic added stabilization of the GoPro, the footage looks pretty smooth. With the Insta360 Go 3, I'm also liking the stabilization as well as the added motion blur from the app. In the end, they're both up to par and have good quality software and hardware to keep the camera still while you're walking and shooting in this mode. Even though I do like the motion blur effect that is given to you as an option on the Insta360 app. And since we're talking about stabilization and TimeWarp and TimeShift, we might as well take a look at this feature in general to see how they compare while shooting regular footage, right after I show you how you can attach these cams to yourself or a tripod in different ways. GoPro is a strap that you can attach to yourself by putting it on like a backpack and then clipping it from the front so that it stays nice and steady. After making sure that everything is good to go, it's possible to attach the GoPro to your chest and then insert this little screw here to keep it in place. It's not very practical, I'll admit, but it gets the job done. Compared to the Insta360 Go 3 though, it's not really a competition at all. There's a medallion type necklace which is a magnet that allows you to wear it inside your t-shirt and just snap the small camera onto it. You can also attach it sideways to shoot horizontally without any hassle. There's also a hat mount that the camera snaps into with a very strong magnet, and no matter what you do and how much you move around, it doesn't seem possible to detach the camera from its nest. You're also able to attach the camera onto any type of surface that supports a magnet, just like the previous model. It's possible to find suitable surfaces to attach it to on the street for some unique shots, and there's also a similar setup on their own gizmo. Not only is there a clamp to attach the camera to, it's also magnetic at the same time, giving it double the protection. The case of the camera is also able to snap onto this mount perfectly, giving you endless different opportunities to try out. The Go 3 also comes with this James Bond-esque sticky tool, which can be used to attach to the majority of surfaces, but we do recommend you to use a glass surface to get that ultimate grip. Afterwards, attach the camera to the clamp and you're all set. The nest that the camera is able to be set in can also be used as a remote, which allows you to walk away from the camera while retaining vision of what exactly you're shooting, and no doubt that this is a pretty cool feature. As for displays, they both obviously have a back display, which has become pretty mandatory for action cams. Only the GoPro has a front display though, but the Go 3 has a flip display, giving you the option to view it from both sides. One opportunity is that you're able to switch from an aspect ratio of 16:9 to 9:16 without rotating the camera, which is a very cool and useful feature when you just want to shoot some shorts and reels because that is a standard ratio that they use. On the Hero 11, you're not able to do this as you only have 4:3 and 8:7, so you have to rotate the camera to get that aspect ratio that you want, which isn't that practical. For stabilization, the Hero 11 has 3 modes, starting off with standard, which gives you the footage with a normal angle. Not the best, as flow state of Insta360 looks much better. There's also auto boost mode, which chooses the amount of stabilization that you need while you're in action, and this definitely works better than standard mode, which I'm not a big fan of. Boost mode though crops the footage in to ensure optimal stabilization and is the best that GoPro has to offer. Even then, the difference is minimal as Insta360 looks to have done something pretty correctly here, so they get a thumbs up. But even then, there's one more feature on both of them that is really neat, and it's called Horizon Lock. With this feature, you're able to completely lock the frame in place so that no matter how much and in what direction you move the camera, you'll still be right in the middle of the screen, looking like nothing ever happened. I can think of quite a few use cases for this, especially when doing some action shots, so props to Insta360 for finally adding this feature in their new device. As for slow motion, there are a few options. The Hero 11 can shoot at 4K 120 frames, while the Insta360 Go 3 is able to do the same amount of frames at 1080p, which isn't amazing but definitely good enough for your everyday needs. If you'd like to increase the frames on GoPro's side, you also have the option of shooting at 240 frames at a lower resolution of 2.7K, which is pretty much the gold standard of frames for slow motion in my book, as it's a good balance for pretty much anything from sports footage to capturing movements of animals. Speaking of capturing, to be able to capture everything in the frame, you need to make a couple of adjustments, so here's a quick look at what I mean. What you're seeing on the screen of the GoPro Hero 11 is called the HyperView, and this on the Insta360 Go 3 is the Ultrawide mode. They might look similar when you look at them directly, but one might be a little wider than the other. Now, this type of angle is actually really sweet because in comparison to regular footage, you might be in a scene where you have a lot of interesting things around you and you might want to make sure that you get everything in the frame. And for this, these types of angles are definitely preferred. If we were to focus on which one has a wider angle, they are very close to each other in this regard, both allowing the user to get a very wide shot of their surroundings. That being said, videos aren't all that we want to use action cams for. We took some shots out in the wild for your enjoyment, so it's time for a quick review. While the photos from the GoPro look mystical and edited for social media, if you want that natural look, you'll go for the Insta360. The colors are slightly less saturated on the photos on the right, as well as the highlights being pulled down somewhat to maintain consistency. Besides this, I'd say that they both did a very good job considering these aren't DSLRs, but action cams, and I would have no problems taking photos with either of them. And as you know, as I've mentioned countless times before in our previous videos, we definitely need to check out the mic quality because sometimes you just have your camera with you and you just want to go and take some random shots, you know, not without that much planning and whatever, and you're gonna need a good mic to settle things straight. This is the audio quality of the GoPro Hero 10. I'm fairly sure it's going to be quite a good experience, but we're going to have to check it out in the studio. And this is the mic quality of the Insta360 Go 3, and this one is actually one that I'm really curious about because it's a much smaller camera than the GoPro. In terms of audio, a plus and a minus to both. While the Go 3 has crisper audio, you can hear the wind a little clearer, which can cause issues in windy weather. The opposite is the case for the Hero 11. Its audio is a bit muffled compared to its competition, but it would probably perform better in outdoor conditions. We also checked out how the footage would look in a low light room. When there's a certain amount of artificial light indoors, then the GoPro Hero 11 does seem to have the edge in terms of quality and detail, but at night with almost no light, the Insta360 Go 3 is visibly better as the footage on the left is extremely noisy and we wouldn't recommend using it to shoot in these conditions. Did we forget something? Actually, not at all. The battery is a very important part of action cams, but we're pretty happy to tell you that in 2023, pretty much any quality action cam you buy will last you the duration that you need it to. Regardless, if you had to know which one lasted longer, the Go 3 does have slightly more juice than its competition. In conclusion, these are both high-quality action cams. If you want a professional camera with top-tier video quality and high resolution, then we suggest you look at the GoPro Hero 11. On the other hand, the Insta360 Go 3 has very cool features, things that I've never seen on any other device before. It's very small, with a portable nest that doubles as a display, a flip screen, a hat mount, and much more that we mentioned in the video. It's sold for around $380, while the Hero 11 is slightly more expensive with less features. We have a link in the description if you would like to check out the Go 3 for yourself, and if you enjoyed this comparison, hit those like and subscribe buttons to support our content. See you soon.